good. Good. Okay. Let's get what's his name? Gnosis in the call. Okay, what was that link? I'm gonna share it right now. Oh, very cool. I hope I have my fucking that link. Share it right now. Very cool. I have my All right. Is Gnosis gonna give us a call here? Because as opposed to me just ranting, it'd be nice to have someone to talk to. So, like, we'll wait for him before we officially start. All right.
I'm here. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Not too much. My computer's really slow.
Full of viruses?
Full of it being damn near 10 years old.
Shit, what kind of computer do you have?
It's a Intel Core 2 Duo something that I've just made working for years now. Because that's all I have.
Did you defrag it?
Oh yeah, I've gone through, let's see, this is my second video card that's died on me.
Wow.
And I'm just coming along with just the system default board video.
Yeah. Wow, that blows, dude. I got something a little bit newer, but I was wondering if, what you wanted to discuss here with the company and the direction we're going in. I guess, James, let me know if anybody's viewing or if it's just going to be a conversation between Gnosis and me. So, video is stuck. Very nice. It's probably just streaming a little bit slow. So, I think, so 3-4 weeks ago, I was pretty, I don't want to say hopeless, but desolate, or destitute rather would be the correct word. Sorry, it's hard to know what words you're saying when you have both earbuds in, but just because of all that fucking FUD, man, all the people, people have PAL token. For some reason, people just aren't loyal. They don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
They don't, because I don't see people shilling PAL token. If anything, it's just more like, okay, well, I got like 600,000 or 1 million PAL token just for doing, logging in through Twitter or Facebook. But I don't know why, but for some reason they don't have what we have. You know what I'm saying? Where, for some reason, I don't know how we got it started up, but when people hold Ohni, they end up promoting Ohni. And I don't see that with anybody else.
I have an idea. I have an idea why that is.
Sure, yeah. I'm very interested, very keen to hear that.
And I want to say it's because of the ability to reach us on Telegram and to speak with us as people, and to know that there's someone behind it, not just a machine that's tossing out mindless millions of tokens.
Right. You want to grab a beer? I'm gonna grab a beer. We'll keep this very casual, and if anyone has any questions, they can didn't go off because I mean I feel pretty chill right now. I feel very good about everything. Um, that's fine. Kenshin can just watch along. I really okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna go grab a beer, Gnosis, grab a drink, and
That's fine. I got
yeah,
one.
I'll see you. Okay, cool. One sec. Yeah. Anyway, I think there's something to that in that we're approachable, but a lot of other teams are approachable, but they don't have airdrops. But if they have airdrops, they're not approachable. So you're saying it's our combination of just
There,
being a,
there's airdrops, but then there's also the ability to recognize work, the ability to fluidity, the ability to
okay
just talk to people.
to mold essentially. Well, I
Yeah,
mean a lot of work. We gotta hand credit to Kenshin here because Kenshin has been a goddamn MVP. And that this applies to anybody.
props to Kenshin.
Yeah. With Oni, I mean, if you want to join the Oni team, we don't need your resume. We need results. Kenshin got us on 2 exchanges back to back, um, and he was a total badass. Okay, so is it a different? No, it's the same link. Okay, so Kenshin got us on 2 exchanges in 24 hours, which is unheard of. Yes, they're smaller exchanges. Yes, they don't have as much traffic, but um, there's still exchanges. You know what I'm saying? Also, if you want to tweet the live stream, somebody, I don't know whoever has access to the Twitter, but because I don't remember the password. Well, actually, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna tweet the live stream link, and we'll get right back to this.
If you need the password, I have it.
All right, cool. So now we're all set up. Um, So yeah, Kenshin got us in 2 exchanges back to back, one after the other. Although they're smaller, it's still there's 2 points of value here. Okay, one point of value is that if enough people own a token or enough people own a commodity or form of currency, they can barter from one another. So let's go back 3,000 years to the bazaar, the marketplace, and I say, I have 20 pieces of silver. You have 10 pieces of silver. You want to sell me a fish? I want to buy a fish. If we both have that form of currency and we know our neighbors around us accept this form of currency, I will trade you for the fish, and then you can take it. Can be bottle caps, it can be acorns, it can be what it used to be, pieces of silver or copper, or gold if you were incredibly wealthy. So we would take this form of commodity since it's rare, and I can't just fart out silver. We'd pass this around as a form of currency. Now well, in the 1700s, it started to become paper because the state became so strong, the monarchy became so strong. The monarchy says, okay, we don't need gold everywhere, people getting robbed and whatnot. Just keep it in one vault in one bank, and we'll print money off of that. And that started in France, I believe, but they printed too much money, even though the money was supposed to be backed by gold on a 1-to-1 ratio. They overprinted, collapsed the economy, and so that was the first fiat bubble collapse. And this was in the 1780s. I don't remember when. I gotta brush up on my history, but I know it happened. I know it happened. And then we went to paper currency, and paper currency was backed by gold and silver up until, well, it was progressively phased out in the 20th century. So
Yeah.
in the 1913, the Federal Reserve came along, the central bank, and what they instituted was set interest rates. So interest rates would wobble back and forth, and interest rates mean if I give you money, you got to give me that money back plus a little more. And the higher the interest rate, the higher the risk I'm taking in that you won't pay me back. So the problem with that system is that it hurts poor people the most, because if I may not have the ability to pay you back as easily, I have to sell my couch, or like I had to sell my Xbox One not too long ago to cover rent. But that's just because I was drinking. But not to detract from the story, the higher interest rates affect people with lower credit scores and poor people, which perpetuates this system, which is
You
exactly how the people at the top want the system.
you have to pay more because you're at a higher risk bracket. You're
Mm-hmm.
you're you're a dangerous lender, dangerous
That's right.
risk of yeah.
And the problem is there's some bad apples that say, okay, well, sure, I'll take the money, and my credit score is never going to go up anyways. Sure, I'll take a car loan and I'll drive it around for 2 months, never pay my car loan, and then get my car repoed. I don't care. I don't give a shit. My credit score is already so low. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there's bad apples like that, but in the middle of that, there's the middle class and the poor who cannot get access to credit, or if they do, it's at higher interest rates, whereas opposed to the wealthier who don't even need the loan will get a much lower interest rate. So that's where that system is skewed in terms of interest rates. And for the first time in 5,000 years, interest rates went negative. So what this means, okay, well, let's go back to the gold standard. So the Federal Reserve came in 1913. There was a huge argument right before the Federal Reserve came about in 1905 where William Jennings Bryan said, fuck the gold standard, let's go on the silver standard.
Mm-hmm.
So if as much gold as the U.S. held, I think it was allowed to print a certain amount of money times that, and not a penny more. So that if you took your money, you were technically allowed to go to a bank or somewhere and get gold for it, okay, at any time.
Silver is what I believe it was. There used to be a thing called, it looked like a dollar bill. It just had a different seal. It was a blue seal. It was a silver certificate. You could exchange that for $1 of silver.
Yes. That was more in the 1930s, I believe, but that was, we were still on the gold standard then. So our currency was backed by that. But silver also came into play later on. And the reason why the U.S. was so eager for the gold standard was because of the gold rush in California, where people found a shit ton of gold, and suddenly you're allowed to increase the money supply, and this allowed an enormous amount of trade worldwide. And people from all over the world, from Mexico, China, all over, came to California to dustpan for gold and begin to mine for gold, just as we are doing with cryptocurrency now. It's the new gold rush. And this created a huge amount of money supply, which allowed for economies to flourish, because the more money there is that is backed by something, the more stable the economics is. We can't just print money because it creates instability, which also means, hey, you want actually my natural resources from Kazakhstan to be traded to Turkey, but you just want to pay me with paper money? No, pay me with a currency that is backed by something. So that's how trade works. After the Federal Reserve, during the Great Depression, that's when silver became a lot bigger, a lot more popular. And there was a silver certificate. You are right. Now, that was because of the Great Depression, and there wasn't enough money supply to go around. There wasn't enough money to go around. And people would hoard it. It wasn't so much that there wasn't enough money to go around. It's that people would hoard money because consumer confidence dropped, because the stock market plummeted. Sound familiar? What happened in 2008? Stock market plummeted, consumer confidence dropped, tons of money was pushed into the system, but it's locked up in bank vaults, corporate savings, and in rich people's vaults because they don't trust the system enough to trade. Because why would you? It's not in your interest. That happened exactly in when did the Great Depression kick off? 1929, when the stock market collapsed?
28 or 29, something like
29, that? I think. And 33, it got really bad, really bad. Just like 2008, it kicked off. The actual worst year was 2011, as I was graduating high school. That was the worst year of the entire recession. And we had a great recession. We didn't have a great depression. And that's because the banks had learned, okay, if we don't handle this right now, we're going to tank, or we're going to see another Great Depression. So they kind of handled it, but they did it poorly. But they handled it, but they did it poorly. Okay? So, what ended up happening was the last time, okay, so as the economy continued to increase, or I guess production continued to increase, and after World War II, there was a huge economic boom. There still wasn't enough precious metals to go around and back a currency. And so they wanted to create a debt-based system. And JFK, John F. Kennedy, got wind
Yes.
of this kind of debt-based system. And do you know what form of money JFK is on? He is on a form of currency in the U.S.
Yes. He's on the 50-cent piece.
Yup, my man. And do you know the last year the 50-cent piece was actually made with real silver?
70 something, 74.
Take it back.
Real silver. Oh, okay. No, this is 60 in the 60s. I can't remember
63.
the year.
63. No.
Yeah.
Actually, can we fucking Google this, dude? Why are we arguing about this? I know it's because JFK was killed in 63, right?
62.
Hang on. We got all our dates mixed up.
I know. I'm trying to, but yeah, you're okay. You're right about the Wall Street crash, 29, Black Monday.
Yeah.
Let's see, JFK.
Where'd this question go? Okay, there was a question. Oh, okay, I guess not. JFK was killed
November 26th, 1963.
Okay, there we go. And right before they killed him, it was 1963. Okay. Right before they killed him, he had a speech which decreed against shadowy institutions, basically. Secrecy. What he was really trying to say was he was against the bankers creating this debt-based currency. And a lot of people say, oh, he was against Israel having nukes. I doubt that because he would have wanted a partner in the Middle East. A lot of people say he had trouble with the mafia. I don't think that's fine. I don't care if only 4 people are watching. We can just put this up on the YouTube. A lot of people say that he had trouble with the mafia or that his dad did something. And no. The reason why he got killed is because he was against the debt-based system. And he wanted to create a system entirely backed on silver, which at the time there was enough silver. And so he started to, begin to mint coins in silver. But they got him. They killed him. And then in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard completely, confiscated all the gold that countries had lent to the U.S. for security because we were in the Vietnam War and we needed more currency. Okay, so we just started to print fiat.
Yes.
And what happens is when you have a trust-based system where the U.S. is so strong and no one can take it on, and you're able to just print money, you have a huge economic boom. Because after World War II, the 50s and 60s, huge economic boom. The 70s, we went on to fiat currency, huge economic boom. But the good times had to keep going. So women entered the workforce in the 80s, I believe. Well, I mean, they were in the workforce for a long time, but they started to really,
Longer than that, longer than the 80s. It was since say World War II. That's when the majority of women entered the workforce when the men went off to war.
Well, women have always been in the workforce since, even the 20s, but they had specific roles like secretaries or, they would do the keyboard thing, take your call or act as an operator, put the switch in.
As a huge influx. That's when women filled the role normally set up by men.
That wasn't in the 50s or 60s. I don't think so.
No, that was the 40s. That was the wartime economy.
Right, but then after the war, the men came back.
Yes.
And the women went back to their household roles. I'm talking about where we are now, where women do the jobs of men as they are now. That started, I believe, 70s and really picked up in the 80s. Although women have always it was more of a progressive thing, but it really kicked off after fiat. All the money we printed off. Created the economic boom, but then we got women in the workforce, and then we got, credit to be the next big thing. Okay, so if you can't create economic booms through printing currency, and you can't create it through more workforce, and then you can't create it through credit, where are we creating the economic boom now? Do you know what the next thing is? I mean, each tier is shittier and shittier because it destroys society. Women... They absolutely belong in the workforce, but not to the extent that they are now, because then you can't have the nuclear family, then you can't have population growth. And credit cards are fine. Credit is amazing. It helps you get a business up. It helps you live a higher standard. It makes the world go round. But too much credit, as we are in now, or debt, I should say, is bad. And printing money for temporary solutions is good, but it's not a long-term sustainable solution. Do you know what the fourth thing is now that they're trying to push?
Besides selling debt, I'm not really sure.
Oh, you know. So I'll give you a hint. What's happening in white industrialized countries as the population is decreasing?
Oh, the immigration.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go. So that's why there was this huge fuss over immigration, because people are realizing, okay, well, oh, and do you know what the fifth thing will be after immigration? Once we get this cheap workforce.
Industrial robots, geez, the AI robot.
Yep. Robots, automation. Automation's going to take over. So each step is just, it's worse and worse, because we bring these immigrants in, we abuse the shit out of them, give them low wages. They don't get their rights. They don't come in necessarily legalized. They begin to replace the native population. The native population gets angry at them. This creates conflict. Even before then, you have tons and tons of debt where people default, and it creates bubbles, and these bubbles pop. And the fiat system is long overdue. Okay, it's done for. Fiat is on its way out. It's been around for a couple hundred years, and the people that own the fiat system, the shadow bankers, nominally the Rothschilds, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of families. And the Saudis are some of them too, and they're all against Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin is bad. Jamie Dimon is one of their puppets, or he's in their league. He runs what fucking bank does he run? Not important. But what I'm saying is now they're starting to kind of get afraid, because they know fiat is over, and so cryptocurrency. So let's go back to when was the gold rush? 1850s, 1840s. It started 1850s.
49 was the big year for gold rush, the 49ers.
Right. Okay. The 49ers, and then it continued on into the 50s, and then we had the Civil War and whatnot. But then again, our timelines might be messed up here, but you get the general consensus of where things are going. And the reason why the gold rush was so important was because it increased the money supply. Now we're in a new gold rush, where cryptocurrencies are the new form of money supply, and they just started. So I wouldn't even call this the 49. In 2 years, we'll be the 49. We're still so early, and most people don't really understand it. They kind of hear about it. You give it 2 more years, and we'll be in that 49 year where cryptocurrencies really take over. Now, do you know who made money in the gold rush?
It was the people who were selling the pickaxes and shovels.
Yeah, that's right. And the people initially, the first guys who were like, "Hey, there's gold here."
Oh yeah, and were willing to murder anyone who encroached on their plot of land.
That's the third kind. There's okay. So there's the people who came in first. There's the people who sold pickaxes and shovels and the supply and gave hotel rooms. And then there's the most aggressive kind who banded together and were like, "Dude, we're gonna make this work. I don't care what you think." Those are the 3 people that made it. The rest, they ended up settling in California, and they had a good life, or they went back home, but they didn't become fabulously wealthy.
Right.
So can you explain to me what those 3 groups are in cryptocurrency's gold rush now?
It'd be like
Well, let's start with the first group. I mean, you know the answer. You know the answer, but start with the first group. Who's the first people that made a shit ton of money on cryptocurrency?
Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first. It is the genesis of cryptocurrency.
And the people who invested in Ethereum a little earlier this year, but Bitcoin, that was the first people. Okay, now there's no other giant thing where in 7 years it's going to go from pennies to thousands of dollars.
Right.
Only token will never be worth thousands of dollars per token, but it will be worth could be worth up to a couple $100 in 15 years. It could per token. Could be. We never know. We're hoping, maybe within the next 5 years, 6, 7 years, hit $1 per token. That would be nice. That'd make us large. That's fairly manageable. But okay, that's the first group, Bitcoin people. Second group. Who's the second group? Pickaxes and shovels.
It'd be the venture capitalists, I would have to say.
No. Close. Close. You know, the venture capitalists are people that fund stuff, but they're funding mostly. Okay, put it this way: the venture capitalists are people who say, "You want to go mine gold? Sure, I'll give you some money." But then that person tries to mine gold in a plot of land that doesn't have any gold, loses the money, and the venture capitalist loses their money too. Venture capitalists are just part of the fiat system that are going to shrivel and die. Hopefully, I'm very against them, as you can obviously tell, and biased. But whatever. Who's the second group? Think about it. I'll give you a hint. Who facilitates the ability to interact with the gold or mine or shovel the gold? Who kind of sits there in the middle and is like, okay, you want gold or you want to get into gold?
What, central bankers?
No. You're still thinking of the fiat system. In the cryptocurrency system, who sits there and gives you, okay, you want to get into cryptocurrency. Where do you have to go? If you have like $1,000, where do you start? Where do you go?
That's the exchanges.
There you go.
Yeah,
the exchanges are the pickaxes and shovels, and the room sellers of today. They make their money whether a cryptocurrency goes down or up. They don't care. They make their money at the end of the day. They always will. They always do. They don't care what your opinion is. And the bigger the exchange, the better. Like Metacrocs, that little shitty exchange is going to sink. But Coinbase is already worth $1 billion. Poloniex, Bitrex, there's a lot of other big ones. We're talking to hit BTC right now. So there's all these exchanges are going to come away with a lot of money. And they've already won, because no matter how they operate, they're going to still make money. And they may not end up being the billionaires, but they're going to come away pretty wealthy. I think they're doing all right now. Now, there's a third group, Gnosis. What's that third group? You said it yourself. The cutthroats, the people that say, okay, we're going to band together. We're going to form our own law. We're going to set up the plots of land. And if anybody comes against us, we're going to bash your fucking head in.
See, I think that's when it comes into venture capitalism.
Nope.
Not quite?
That's not the system. No, the third people are the cutthroats. That's us.
Yes.
Okay, do you see how basically the third type of people that win are the people that say, okay, screw this competition and screw these certain plots of land, because gold will be in a certain area very condensed and there'll be a ton of it and everyone else loses except for one person, right?
Right.
So, okay, let's just get all 100 or 1,000 people. Let's form this town, and anywhere gold is found, let's distribute it together, evenly amongst each other. And anybody that tries to come into this town, whether it's the natives or whether it's another group, we'll cut their throat. But if we work together as a group and there's gold, we all benefit. We all win. Just us, not anybody else. We all win if we're one group, right? So they're cutthroats, but they're also unifiers. They're the people that say, okay, this guy killed a man. Now he needs to hang. We're the justice. We're the law.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this apply to current cryptocurrency rush? And this is why I think, again, we're kind of winning here, and why I see a real chance and hope. The freezing acts as the form of law. If someone tries to, for example, rape a woman in the camp, the other men can get together and lynch him. That's what freezing is. As having some kind of loose, we don't really care what you do with your Ohni token as long as you don't backstab the company. As long as there's a loose form of law, we can maintain stability. That's one. Two, Ohni is very aggressive. You know this. We've been very aggressive in marketing. We've been called shills. We've been called a scam. We've been called all this. But that's because we're taking more and more land. And the other towns don't like it. The other cryptocurrency firms don't like it. Why do you have to take our land? Why don't you stick to your land? No, we want your land too. There might be gold on it. Back up. We're the ones making room for ourselves, elbow room, because we know the more land we have, theoretically, the higher statistical chance there's going to be gold on it, and our town prospers and becomes wealthy. Okay, so the problem with the third form is that there isn't one big winner. It isn't just like the first guy that's like, oh, I bought 100 Bitcoin and now I'm super wealthy. But the wealth is more kind of spread out amongst the people. And the third thing that's important with owning is that everyone benefits in the town. So if the team works together or one team member does something, everyone kind of wins. You understand? Everyone kind of wins, because if someone shills Oni here, or talks to an exchange here, or builds on the website here, or works on the company here, or does this here, it doesn't matter if there's gold or there's funds here. We all kind of win. And because of this, POW token doesn't have this. POW token is more like handing out flyers all over California and saying, let's form a community. But it's not really congregated, and it's not really in the sense where how do you say, POW token isn't really a town exactly. They're trying to expand everywhere, but they're nowhere at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're everywhere but nowhere. Whereas Oni is very congregated in one town, and because we all say, hey, we don't need to compete. You join the Oni army. You're in the Oni army. If you want to ride on the backs of others, that's fine. But at some point, you got to do something. And so everyone's kind of in it together, and that way everyone wins. That's the third type. There will be no other winners. There will be no one. There's not going to be some kid in a basement, 17 years old, drawing math equations that says, Eureka, I figured it out, the perfect blockchain formula. And they pour it in, and then suddenly, bam, billions. That's done. So the first wave, the exchanges, so the first people that bought Bitcoin, the exchanges, and then third, the cryptocurrency companies that kind of unite people together. And that's where Oni has the advantage. And that's why I'm so excited by what I see, because I'm like, oh, okay, people really are promoting us. Wow, every time we airdrop, we grow. It's a fact. Every time we airdrop, we grow. Every time I see it, we grow on the Telegram, we grow on the Twitter, I get more Facebook ads. Every time. It's not as proportional. We get what, 40 people? We might get 4 or 5 people on the Telegram, 6, 7 on the Twitter, 2, 3 add me on Facebook, whatever. But the point is, every time we do it, it's mathematically like by the numbers. You understand? You can't beat the math. Every time we airdrop, we grow. And I've yet to see that not be true. It's true every time. So those are the 3 forms, and that's my long rant on. But you tell me your thoughts. How is cryptocurrency like the gold rush, or is it not like the gold rush? And again, what brought you in? Did you have your eye on it, and what were your initial thoughts on Bitcoin?
I had seen Bitcoin. I'd heard of it, and I had seen the idea, the idea of a digital cryptocurrency that's nothing that's backed by or controlled by any bank or government or anything like that. And I'm looking at it and like, wow, this is great stuff. And then I see, as just like a trial run, and it's like, passing around for dollars or cents at a Bitcoin, and it just starts hitting that hockey puck, that hockey stick curve.
Yeah, hockey stick. Yeah,
the hockey stick curve is just going up like exponentially. Like, what? You mean I could have bought this way back when, and I'd be worth like, I don't know, 5 million by now? Like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm. When did you first notice it? Why didn't you invest? What was your initial reasoning in the beginning?
Let's see, I didn't have a lot of liquidity to deal with back in 2010, 2011, something like that. Yeah, okay, this is kind of silly. I'll just keep an eye on this. I didn't really have a lot of stuff to do with it. It's one of those things. Looking back on it, of course, I would have done things different, and force myself to deprive. Just do it. I don't care.
Right.
But
I remember in 2011. Reading about Bitcoin being $3.50. But again, the reason why I didn't invest, and it was very close. It was the reason why I didn't invest. It was 40% invest, 60% don't invest.
Mm-hmm.
And I of course I beat myself up over it. Well, I did for a while, but was that there were two things. One, they said that Bitcoin was going to replace the banks, but the second and the bigger thing was I was studying economics at the time, and they said there will be 23 million Bitcoin ever, I think. There's 21 now, right? 23
I think so.
ever. We've got a couple more million to mine, I believe, but
and it'll take like a 100 or 200 years or something like that for that last.
I think it was till 2030. But I don't know. It could be. Again, we're not about to go a long time. Let's just get that across. But the problem was I didn't realize you could break Bitcoin down into really, 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 really small parts.
Oh, yeah, the Satoshi.
Yeah, had I known that, I would have invested because I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, then maybe there's enough supply. But I read 23 million and I said, okay, even if you break it into 3-4 parts, that's 100 million, or even if you break it into 100 parts, it's a billion. That's not enough Bitcoin to go around to make it a currency. And I think Satoshi knew that. And he didn't want to create a replacement because in the white paper, he says this is supposed to be a form of remittance for third world countries paying each other. So instead of going through what's the wire transfer? What's the wire transfer company? What are they called? They charge like $15. They charge outrageous fees.
Western Union.
Western Union. Instead of going through Western Union, you could use Bitcoin instead. But I don't think that was really his intention because he wrote Bitcoin after the 2008 bailout fiasco, and I think he wanted to hurt the financial industry, but I'm positive he works in the financial industry if he's a person and not just a 3-letter agency. But I think he's a person. He wanted to punish them, but he didn't want to create the replacement. So it's kind of weird in that if he's in finance, he knows economics, he's really smart, he knows all this. Why just create 23 million Bitcoin? I mean, at the time it was useless. It was like 0.008 cents or something. I get that, but why not create just like 10 billion Bitcoin and then have the entire financial industry run on that? That was my question at the time, and that was also right around when I started to ask about what my idea was, which was to unify consumers, which was to get consumers to tell businesses what they want for their community. Whether it's, again, solar panels or community contributions or alternative energy or higher wages, whatever. And I tried to tie that idea into cryptocurrency, the last 2 years, and I've kind of figured it out. But I'd always wondered, why isn't there more Bitcoin? Because the system already works great now, although it's kind of sluggish now and everyone's promoting Bitcoin Cash. But they still kind of just don't get it. You can't have such a... It goes back to the gold versus silver standard or the fiat standard. There's only so much gold. You can't create a bustling economy out of that. Silver's better, but silver's still kind of the same limitations. Okay, it's the same thing with Bitcoin Cash. There's still kind of the same problems with it. Fiat is the way, but fiat needs to be controlled by the people. And that's where you get Ohni, where you get the combination of cryptocurrency and you get the people aspect into it so that you can create a fiat currency that's stable because it's backed by people's demand. And that's where the real innovation behind Ohni is, right?
Yeah.
Any comments?
Well, I'd have to say that the ability of tying in a economy and a currency replacement to a economic model is
right.
It's really cool. Like it's one of the things that I looked at and I could sort of recognize and go, wait a minute, that's something there.
Mm-hmm. So I think what I'll do is we'll wrap this up. I'll talk about the timeline. So, okay, we have Ohni token. We've got 10 billion supply. Um, most of it held in what I call my vault, the locked up bank, because I know where it needs to go. I know how I want it to be. I don't plan on owning any Ohni token. For one, I don't want to be a guy that hoards it. And two, I think again the idea is more important. And three, if we're dealing with currency and consumer demand, there's plenty enough money to go around. I'm not worried about squeezing every dollar. I could care less, honestly. But we've gone through a lot of Oni for how early the project is. We've gone through, over 25% in nearly just 4 months, and that will continue to slow down and slow down. What will I do to be a part of the team? I believe that was his question. Okay, if you're interested, well, there's several things to do, but generally, the best thing to do is promote us, but not just promote us on a basic level, retweeting and sharing. Someone mentioned a Instagram campaign, but there was another guy who posted on a large forum in Africa talking about Oni cryptocurrency, and he got us quite a lot of people, Emmanuel. So promotion is one big thing. That's kind of marketing. Two, you can hit up exchanges. I mean, you have to. I can't really tell you who you are as a person, what to do. You have your own set of understanding. You have your own internet places you browse. You have your own understanding of your own country and your own situation, to where you would have to think, okay, I kind of get what Oni is, but how would I promote it myself? And if you get results, you can join the team.
We certainly can't. We certainly can't stop you. Like, your imagination is where you need to go.
Right.
Like, you take that spark and run with it.
Right. And it works both ways, because we've had people try and burn down things. So they'll go from place to place, like lighting the village on fire and trying to burn us down. But then we realize that's just not really effective. Okay. Are we offline for good, or
I think we're back.
are we? This freaking Pep guy, dude.
Careful. He's sensitive.
Yeah, he's trying to promote his Liquidion or whatever so bad, dude. He's trying to promote it so badly, like, and he's just got nothing. He's like, I'm a Solidity developer. Every time they talk like a big game, it's just hilarious. But okay, so the second way to promote is with web development. Do the coding challenges. Talk to James, our CTO. He's the man, dude. He's got the automatic airdrop. We're waiting for the Ether. James has been kicking ass and taking names. So if you know code, try and get in with the coders. If you don't know code, try and get Oni into a more cultural, expansive mode. So go out and think about okay, if I heard about Oni, what would be my initial perception? How would I frame this? Okay. So the last thing, I'm going to wrap this up, because we've been talking for a while. We've been offline, online, but I mean, I don't like these streams to go on for too long, because they're making it boring at times. Okay, great. Timeline. So, okay, we need to stay head and shoulders above the competition. And I think, besides the airdrop, once we get the airdrop, we get the idea out, we do more live streams, we do the white paper, we fix the site. Once everyone kind of gets it, understands it, we get a lot of people. That's when we begin development on an Android app. And I want to keep it simple. And I just want the Android app to have your identity verified with the token. So basically, you turn on the app, you send an Oni token to the app, and then you're linked to that token. The token stays there in that wallet forever, and you're linked to that token. And then we can begin to say, okay, well, what do you think about Trump? And then people can vote with the Oni app, and since it's a real token, it's a real identity, you can get actually a real barometer of Trump and his decisions, or Hillary Clinton, or it doesn't matter. But really, corporate decisions. What do you think of Google? What do you think of Amazon? What do you think of this product or service? What do you think of this? That's one way to go. Or with the identity to what we would do, the second step would be to create Oni currency and then have it traded by, like, if you have a more advanced phone, you can trade it by touching your phones or send it through to each other. The data would be loaded on the phone, and then we could buy and sell Oni currency. Then we combine that data and we to sort of sell off the demand. So again, 30,000 people in Wyoming spend this way. They're willing to change their spending. How much money you're willing to offer, we take a cut of that. That's the second higher road. But the first road, again.
Yeah. This isn't like name and address, right? This isn't like that kind of
data. No. No form of identity. It would be more like X3012YK399972118Z thinks that Trump is so and so, shops at Walmart at this time range, bought this amount, and then YY20100XZMMLKO2 thinks that that's also really cool. So it wouldn't actually be there's nothing that would link you to that. But it's the fact that you can actually believe that person, that long ass string of integers and alphanumeric characters. You can actually believe what they're saying because they don't get a vote again. They don't get a talk again because they're already in. You know what I'm saying? That's the genuine contribution. We don't need to know. Mary Jones thinks this and get your house egged because you said something that wasn't popular. But we can trust that's actually you, and no other system exists like that. Facebook kind of, but I mean, you can create a fake Facebook all the time, with tons of them. So
I know nothing about that.
Yeah. So 2018, we're going to start working on the Android app, and hopefully we'll raise some goddamn money. I think, again, we just need to get some ether and start the airdrops, and it'll be a rinse repeat cycle. We expand the exchanges. The price will continue to go up. We'll pump up as far as we can go for a crowd sale or ICO to really push a lot of tokens and get the market a little more fair. So I can get rid of my tokens, kind of make the market a little more liquid, a little more fair, and then we can get the money and build this Android app and bring the results to the people and be like, guys, this is genuinely the first system like this. And no one's doing this kind of thing. They're focused on the blockchain, making the blockchain more effective, the currency. We don't really need that right now. We're going to be the first ones who are like identity. And then from there, voting, and then from there, cash back or currency. So we're taking some more steps till then. We're not going for the whole really hard physics part of it, creating a new form of currency. That's hard to do. That will take $1 billion. But we'll focus on the smaller things. Anything else? We wrap this up?
I like this. I like the personal touch of having an account that's it's not your personal account, but it's the metadata. It's what you spend. It's what you,
for example,
want to buy.
Yeah. And that's what's really important. What you want to buy. That's what's actually worth a lot of money. So if we can tell how many people like Ford or Ford or GM, and we know that exact number, that's worth a huge amount of money to Ford and GM, and we that's also worth, Apple or Microsoft. We can actually get real numbers for the first time and say, yeah, no, this is undisputable. More people like Microsoft, or this is undisputable. More people like Ford, or this is undisputable. This many people like or dislike Trump. It's indisputable because no one is going to. You can't create more Oni token. At that point, I'll throw away the contract address to an unknown address. It'll just be zeros, just tons of zeros. So it'll be thrown away. So tokens can't be forged. Even if someone got a hold of my account and all of my Oni, they can't mess with the network, right? They can't do anything to that network. And as for the whales, so you say, okay, well, I only need to own one Oni token. What's the point of owning many? Good question. The point is, the more Oni token you own, the more you can lend. So to actually lend Oni currency or Oni, you would need maybe, I don't know, 1 million Oni to be kind of a small lender, Okay, then if you have 10 million Oni tokens, you can lend more Oni. Okay, so the actual fractional reserve, the reserve is actually the Oni tokens. And then from that, you can lend the fiat currency, the Oni, based on how many tokens you have. So it'll be ranges of 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. So international lenders and lenders on national scales will be 100 million tokens. The state side or regional side will be 10 million, and the 1 million will be zip codes, cities, towns, small scale. And there won't be marks attached to your lending capability. So we're going to get rid of marks, but the way it'll work is there will be satisfaction ratings with different lenders. So when you go in for a car loan, instead of someone saying, oh, let me call up the bank and get you a loan with like this amount of interest or whatever. No, you go on the app and you say, oh, wow, this guy has 88% satisfaction with his loan process. This guy has 63. I want to go with this one, 88% for my loans because he's got higher marks. So the marks won't actually increase the amount of you can lend. So if you own 1 million Oni token, you can lend 5 times that in Oni. And then if you own 10 million tokens, you can lend 10 times. If you own 100 million, you can lend 25 times. You see what I'm saying? So that's the way the system will be built. And because you can lend fractionally and you can continually inflate at certain intervals of time, there's no need for interest. You don't need interest if you have the fractional reserve lending. Get rid of the interest, get rid of debt slavery, get people out of debt, actually get them to unite with their opinions, right? And actually be united together, and you create the literal future. Because then people say, okay, I like Ford more. Okay, cool. I want to see flying cars from Ford. So I will continue to buy Ford for the next 20 years, and you can verify that. But you guys better start working on flying cars. That's how that works. And you can tell Apple, hey, we don't want the new iPhone 67 with just a better camera. We want actual like holograms and stuff. Get to working on it. You know what I'm saying? Or we will switch to a different competitor. So that creates enormous amount of power. And then all the trillions locked up in corporate savings, in corporate vaults, can finally go towards research and development and improving the economy and in injections into the community. So you get the system started up. Consumer confidence goes up because people can say, my opinion, my vote, my dollar, I actually matter in the economy. Consumer confidence goes up. Savings actually get spent for research and development. This creates innovation and efficiency. The economic cycle begins to turn again, but faster and better. And in a way that people can actually understand without getting ripped off due to loans or high interest or bailouts or bank collapses, anything. The system restarts itself again, but much better and a much more efficient way. So if you want more trees in your city, you could ask a company to plant trees because you will spend there. And we know that because no one can affect the Ohni blockchain. I can for now, but I'm not going to because this is my idea. So do we get all that? Why it's important. Why I didn't invest in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin wasn't the end point from what I was seeing back then, and it took many years to come up with this. Many years, but it took at the time I realized Bitcoin wasn't it, and I should have realized a lesson, which was just because it's not the final destination. What a shitty pun. Horrible movie, except for the first one. Just because it's not the final destination does not mean that you can't get there quicker by making the right move. And that was a lesson I had to learn. And believe me, I learned it. And now we are trying to raise just a little bit of ether to get this going. And we're all broke. And if I would have just had one Bitcoin, we wouldn't be in this situation. So lesson learned, but again, the end destination is Ohni. Okay, there's all these other cryptocurrencies. Could not compete because they're just A, not as a good idea. B, they aren't about people. They don't have the town. They're either first players like Datum, IOTA, Bitcoin Cash, Omisco. Arc is kind of one of the much smaller ones. Golem. They're either first players, they got in quick. Yeah. Or they're tied to the bigger kind of, exchanges and stuff. They're kind of tied in. Like BankCore has a lot of connections. BankCore, I don't see a lot of innovation, but they're really deeply ingrained in the system, and they're not going to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Or the third is you get a total circus shit show like us who just don't care what's going on, but that are immensely powerful from a people perspective that and no one else. They're kind of eyeing us in a, they're starting to sweat a little bit because they're starting to see. Yeah.
Can you think what would happen if we got enough people that would be able to vote on the app that we make? Say if 50 million people wanna have a vote for hydrogen fuel cell cars, from Toyota or Ford or GM or something like that, hydrogen fuel cell. They would have to make an infrastructure to sell those things.
Right.
But if they knew people were pledging to buy the thing. Yes.
That's why Ohni has to come about, because I saw no other way for the world to fix itself or the world to continue on or improve itself, but only decline. And the world continues to decline in leadership, morality, economics, finance, education, all across the world. It continues to decline because there's no system like that. The research, the innovation exists. We already have concepts of hydrogen cars. We already have concepts of electric cars. We already have concepts of flying cars. We already have concepts of extremely efficient engines. We already have concepts of alternative energy, of algae you can grow to create biofuels. We already have concepts of all these awesome technologies.
All of this works at a small scale. It's just getting it on a small scale.
Yes, on a small scale. We have robots already, like one robot that costs $20 million that can pick something up and do this. That exists. But on a large scale, it's impossible fundamentally to really get it going. And this is why I don't believe Silicon Valley. This is why I don't believe any of the tech guys. This is why I don't believe any of the cryptocurrency guys, because no system like this exists. So you can create the next, mini black hole, or you can create a cold fusion power generator, or you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to affect me tomorrow. I'm still using, I think, coal at my local, at my local power station. I still put gas in my car. I still have to pay bills. I still have to do this. And, my life is still what it is, because so your little thing is not gonna affect anything or anybody. Maybe in 30 years, people keep saying, "Oh, in 2015, in Back to the Future, they have hoverboards and all this stuff." No, it will never come about because Ohni does not exist. There is no system like Ohni. You can't have all that until you have a system where people can vote, pledge, and money can go into it systematically, and people know they're going to get their money back, and innovation can spread. It won't exist. Fiat, the money we use, the currency we use, has to change. We can't go back to the gold standard. We can't go back to the silver standard. We can't go to Bitcoin Cash. We can't go to Bitcoin. We can't go to Ethereum for that. You need a new, improved version of fiat, and Ohni is the only way. It's the only way. You want fly? I don't care what you want to invent. You want to invent sex bots, or you want to invent, a killing death ray gun? I don't care. As long as you have the option to invent it and have it actually be in the system, that's all I care about. And I know I'll that at the end of the day is my contribution and all the time I spent, and I want people to understand that. If only 10,000 people understand this, then we can, again, change the world from there. So
it's good talk.
Good talk. Let's hope it gets on YouTube. So white paper, hopefully I'm going to go out for a couple beers and then hit the white paper. And again, our progress is going to be slow, but it's going to be steady. It might drop off a couple times, but again, we're always there. We're always available. We're always here. We're always going to continue to grow. We're not going anywhere. I don't care what the shills say. I've spent 8 years on this. If I have to do it alone, like I was doing not that long ago, I will. But now I have James, I have Kenshin, I have Gnosis, I have Xander, I have Barezzo, I have Paul. Who the fuck else am I forgetting? I have Asvor, I have Templar. There's another key player. I'm going to beat myself up. Hands.
Barezzo, Hands.
I got Hands. Yeah, I think I got them all. I mean, I have people working with me on this. I have the Ohni army. It's no longer just some crazy idea in my head. Other people are actually helping me. And I can't tell you what a relief it is, because I've worked on this for so long and I've exhausted myself to a worn out dog. But now it's beginning to gain traction. So, and I'm going to keep working on this for the rest of my life, because I believe it's big enough. Like it needs to be big enough. If this doesn't come about, the world will continue to degrade till World War III or till economic collapse or whatever. It will continue to degrade. This is the serum. This is the antidote to the venom of old shitty fiat systems ruining the world. It all goes back to finance. All the wars, all the economics, all the poverty, it all goes back to finance. Okay, we don't have kings and monarchs now, so why do we have kings and monarchs in financial systems? Why do we have a king telling us what to do? There we go. I'm going to wrap it up. Any last thoughts, Gnosis?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm on this train. There's nothing shaking me from this. We've been through enough already.
Yeah.
I see where this is going.
Yep. Cool. All right. We'll see you next week, maybe, or 2 weeks. Who knows? James, sure. Thanks for streaming. Ohni Army, much love. Take care, guys. Be safe.